one of the all-time best shows that came out of the CW studio, and the starter of the widely known Arrowverse has to be Arrow. And today, we have some of the scenes from all 8 seasons so far that never got to the big screen. Deleted scenes that might have added some plot twists, and even changed the whole series. So, without further ado, let's get started. Oliver excuses Diggle.
Please.
It wasn't his fault. It wasn't your fault.
Starting off our list with a deleted scene right from the first episode of the series, it happens right after Oliver and Diggle, his bodyguard at the time, get into trouble. In a conversation between Diggle and Moira, Oliver's mother, he apologizes and knows what's coming, and that is for him to get fired. Or, at least that's what Moira thinks is the right thing. However, Oliver jumps in to the rescue, as he knows John didn't do anything wrong. He was just protecting Oliver. And yes, the decision from Moira is reasonable, but because she doesn't know that her son is under the hood, and that is why Oliver goes against her and excuses John, saying it is all his fault, and thus they continue to be partners in crime for a long time after this. Diggle meets Harley Quinn.
Trust me.
Come on, chocolate pudding, let me out.
In this next deleted scene, we have a rather interesting part, which eventually would have changed everything, with introducing such a big character to the Arrowverse. In Argus, we are given a scene of John and Lila doing the unthinkable, releasing some of the most notorious criminals and bad guys. When a threat greater than even themselves is upon them, they seek help in the last place you would like to find yourself in. While at the facility, we see John releasing criminals from the Argus prison, which also shows the back of Harley Quinn and her voice, but after some suggestions, he decides not to release her, as she is very volatile, a scene which, if it would not have been deleted, would have spilled chaos in the world of our Emerald Archer. A huge plot would have been introduced at that too. You are my family.
Family. You are my family.
A deleted scene from the 3rd season shows Oliver and John in a hideout somewhere, and John enters the room with some bad news he gets after a phone call. John is somehow connected to these certain events, and somehow Oliver is also entangled in the bad news. After John apologizes to Oliver for dragging him into this, and also some list is mentioned which cannot get into the wrong hands. John says to Oliver that he's in this for his family, when Oliver replies, "You are my family." A very touching moment that speaks for the close connection they both have with one another. Sadly, it didn't come up on the big screen, but at least we have it like this, as a deleted scene for all of us to remember both of them by. Sarah returns home.
I remember being shot.
One of the biggest moments happening in Season 4 was the resurrection and the state of mind Sarah had during it. This is such a good scene. Why did they have to cut it? It is definitely better than some nonsense Oliver and Felicity drama. They should have let it go through, because it shows yet another side of Sarah, one person in the series that definitely deserved more screen time. After being brutally shot, comes back to life, a moment of real inspiration and empowerment, which both should have been deeply explored in the series, and they could do that with this scene. This deleted scene also shows how Laurel apologizes for being selfish, a moment which is rarely seen in the series, because Sarah deserves it. Throughout the show, no one ever considers her pain. She's always there for others, but never the focus of the room, and what's happening with her. Oliver and Thea's grief after Laurel's death.
She's gone.
A deleted scene from the hospital where the bad news comes that Laurel is dead. It is a prolonged moment from what we got on the big screen. A quiet and mourning moment between Oliver and Thea about Laurel's death. It is a touching scene that eventually got deleted. The other thing is that in the scene, Laurel's costume is shown, the one she wears as Black Canary, and John takes it to the bunker for the sole purpose of hiding her identity and not revealing who she was. However, if the things happened otherwise, who knows what would have happened with Team Arrow? This scene should not have been deleted, as it shows just a little bit more focus on the death of one of the members of the team, and they should have honored her with this scene, not just because she's gone, but how big her importance was in the show, and in the lives of Oliver and the others. Prometheus kidnaps Susan.
It's time we finish this.
In Season 5 with Oliver and Susan, a deleted scene has been cut from the original release where Prometheus, Adrian Chase, kidnaps Susan, with him telling her that it's all Oliver's fault because he's the one that killed his father and now he wants revenge, with it being to kill her because, she's dating Oliver, something he holds dear at that moment. In their conversation, Adrian also adds that he owes Oliver for making him rediscover who he truly is and what he's capable of. Eventually, Adrian does not kill Susan as she's rescued by Team Arrow. Shortly after her rescue, Oliver breaks up with her for the sole purpose of not wanting for her to get hurt because of him. Because, even though Susan knows it's his fault, she tells him otherwise. And as we see in the canon episode, they both break up, and Susan accepts this and moves on. A deleted scene where Adrian, aka Prometheus, kills Susan could have ended things between Oliver and Susan in a whole different way, and a plot twist which would have shown Oliver angrier and probably more savage towards who he's dealing with. Oliver goes to talk with Chase.
Adrian, you try to convince me.
After all the shenanigans in Season 5, at the end of the season, Adrian is locked up for what he did, and Oliver is free, despite him being a target to be set up and for him to be behind bars. While being locked in this deleted scene, Oliver goes to talk to Adrian before the marshals come in and take him to a Supermax prison elsewhere. Oliver is here to ease his mind and prove to Adrian that he did not take the bait and that he's okay with not killing him. This scene shows that Oliver is over his revenge and that he holds no grudges of the type towards Chase, a deleted scene we needed to see because it would close many of our questions whether Oliver is still bothered by how things turned out and how this will affect him moving forward. A scene which shows us the strong mental Oliver has and the deeper dive into his ability to have control over all the things happening around him and the people he cares about. Oliver and Felicity's future.
I thought you were staying home so you could spend time with William.
In this deleted scene, on a supposed to be day off for Oliver, him and Felicity talk about their future and the future of William, as during this period he does not want to talk to either of them because, as every other child in his teenage years, think his parents don't know anything. In their talks, many ideas come around, mostly of how to raise William, the son of Oliver, and Felicity as his stepmother. What are the options for him growing up, and what is best for him? In the process, Oliver shares a little bit more about him growing up and how his parents treated him, in a sort of bad manner to say the least, as the thing they mostly cared about is for Oliver to not embarrass them in front of their friends, and not what kind of grades he has in school. Felicity suggests for Oliver to be patient and to restore some normalcy into William's life after the tough times he had to go through while he was in prison. It's interesting to see Oliver as the father figure and have a deeper insight into it, and something more than the protection he gives to William, not taking in consideration his feelings and needs. A scene that would have definitely shaken things up in the later parts of the season, but sadly, we didn't get to see this one on the big screen. On a related note, tell us down in the comments below which of the deleted scenes above would have made a big change in this series and why. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you'd like to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.